Hey, folks, this is Andrew, producer of the Liars Club podcast. Me, Jessica, and Felicia would love to say thank you so much for listening, and we would also like it if you could give us a rate, a subscribe, a review on whatever podcast platform you are listening to. We are on CastBox, we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, Spotify, and we're going to soon be on SoundCloud, and we're also on YouTube. Tell your friends about it, please. We would greatly appreciate that. Also, we have live episodes that are coming out really soon, and we can't wait to get that out to you. And we have a live episode that we were recording here in Hollywood at the Dojo on Sunset, which is atop of Sycamore Tavern, and that is going to be on December 19th. Tickets are going to be on sale fairly quickly, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the Liars Club. This is where we take our guests, we tell them to give us the truth, give us a lie, we figure out which is which. I'm Jessica Wellington.
I'm Felicia Michaels.
And you're about to get lied to.
Jessica, we have such amazing guests. Please tell us about them.
Okay, I will, Felicia.
Okay.
Over to my left, I have a gentleman that started here with me at the Comedy Store. He's a great guy. He's a veteran, and he's making moves. Brian Simpson.
It's me.
Welcome to the show, Brian Simpson.
Thank you.
And over here in front of me, I have a gentleman that I've seen at the Comedy Store since I've been working here, and he's been doing spots, and he's freaking hilarious. He has his own show here at the Comedy Store. He also was on Adult Swim. He's amazing, and he travels the world doing comedy. JF Harris.
Hello, everybody.
Well, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
This is my first time meeting both of you. And
Yeah.
So what was part of the service were you in, Brian?
I was in the Marine Corps.
You were?
Yeah.
For how long?
5 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And where all did you go?
I just went to Iraq. I didn't go anywhere special.
Well, geez, that's enough. That's enough.
Where was your main duty station?
San Diego.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Is that where you started comedy?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But I didn't start comedy while I was in the Marine Corps. I moved back here after I got out, moved home, and came back. Started doing comedy.
And so, is it like a dream that you always had?
Nope.
Or no, you just one day woke up and you're like, fuck it, comedy.
Everyone just kept pushing me to do it.
Oh, really?
And then one day I just was a coward. And then one day I got the balls to do it. Because one day I actually went to a live show. I had never been to one. And it was awful. And I was like, oh, I could do this.
Yeah. That's what I tell kids when I meet like younger comics on the road where people are like, I'm thinking about doing comedy for the first time. It's always just like, go to an open mic. People will be bad. And you can go, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I, on the first time I ever did comedy, and I don't say this all braggy, but I killed. But the second time, I ate the biggest fucking dick on stage. I ate, and my last name is Die, and the MC goes up, and that was Felicia Die, and this guy yells out, yeah, she sure did die.
Oh, that's why you don't go by that, huh? You got rid of that quick.
I cried, and then another comic told me, there's no crying in fucking comedy, bitch. Get the fuck out. And I was like, I'll show you.
I'll cry all the time.
And I do.
Yeah.
Well, very cool.
Comedy almost broke me one time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I bombed so hard.
That hurts.
I still think about it sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, I've had plenty of those.
Yeah, I did a gig for some I did a gig for this fraternity called Q Dogs. It's like a black fraternity. You know what I'm talking about? It was like a,
yeah.
right? And so
I feel bad for the
they do
listeners
this.
because they're not seeing the hand
Yeah,
gestures
you said,
going along with the bar.
yeah, they have they have like the branding. They have a brand. They do this like the Omega symbol or whatever.
What?
Yeah. Anyway, I did a show for them, and they loved it. They loved
Just passing over the branding thing like it's not a plot line from a Jordan Peele movie, but okay.
Oh yeah, and so I did a show for them. They loved it, and then they invited me. They hired me for another gig. And when I showed up, it was like for their sister sorority or whatever. And when I showed up, the guy was like, "Oh man, do that shit you did last time," you know. So then I went out and started. What they didn't tell me was that it was their founders week for the sorority. So that means all the generations of the sorority was showing up to them.
Oh shit!
So the audience was like mostly people like. It was like half grandmas, like all black grandmothers, and I just started out right away, and I think I said I smoke weed or I'm stoned right now or something, and they just started, and they have their own sound for booing.
Oh, the keys.
Yeah.
Did they hit you with the keys?
No, it wasn't keys. It was like click, click. I don't remember what the sound was. Click, 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 click. But it was like, it means boo. But I didn't know what it meant.
What is it like? Are Are they snapping their fingers or with their mouths?
No, it's something with their mouths, and I didn't know what
Like
it meant.
that?
So I said, "What the fuck?" And as soon as I said "fuck," they cut my mic off, and the host came on and just started roasting me from the time. And I just left. I walked. I didn't wait to get paid or nothing. I just walked through the room because you had to walk through the whole room, and it was like all these grandmothers just.
What,
looking
didn't
at
you
me.
cuss and all on the first one?
Yeah, but the first one was for dudes. Like
Yeah, but
young
he told
dudes.
you to do the same thing, and they didn't tell you
No,
any
but
different.
that was just his way of being complimenting.
Yeah, you got to
me.
still read the room.
Yeah, you gotta read the room. And I
You
didn't.
look out and you see grandma.
No, but I feel like if it's a corporate thing where they hire you and they say do the same thing you did last time, then you expect it to be the same.
You trust yourself.
I
trust yourself
yeah,
before
I should have known
some
better.
bozo.
Because I
Yes.
watched.
They should have told you though what they were
Oh yeah,
expecting.
of course, but you still have to trust yourself, don't you think?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The thing is, no, it was.
But you don't know
It was totally
until
on
you
me.
know.
Yeah, because I didn't read the room. I heard the comic before me killing, and I knew that I was better than him, and I was like, oh, this is in the bag, and I went outside and got high. I didn't even watch or anything. I didn't read the room at all.
You didn't hear that he was just like the coolest thing about Jesus. And you're like,
Exactly. Exactly. And so they were all looking at me like, you need the Lord. You know? Oh man,
It's so funny because if you think about it, at one point they were the most partying ladies in the world at this
They were part
sorority.
of sorority, yeah.
Yeah, and then at what age did they just go to not being fun old ladies?
Now they're all like senators, aides, and police chiefs and shit. And
Yeah.
so they were like. It was like a room full of my grandmother. It was like somebody cloned my grandmother
Oh my
and just
God.
400
You know,
of them.
it was a room full of chicks that had seen everything once already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Take out the grandma part. That's
But
really
it hurt me
was.
bad, man. I didn't do comedy for a month.
Oh my God.
I didn't go up at all. I was just like, man, this.
Well, I've always said this. Every day I wake up and I ask myself, do I want to keep doing this?
Really?
I do every day. And most days it's very easy. It's like, yes. And some days it's even easier. I'm like, fuck yes. And other days it's really hard. It's like, I don't know. This is really tough. And I could live off some VA disability somewhere a lot cheaper and just skate and have a part-time job and be fine.
Yo, we could combine our disability.
Right. We could have a little
and
house.
move
Right.
to fucking Tennessee. And
Yeah.
Disability twins activate.
On a piece of land, we could be doing good. Have a little
piece of
farm.
land.
Yeah, and then and then you'd be like,
Getting
what if
deep
we
now.
started? Yeah, but then like a weekend, you'd be like, what if we started an open mic just for like the chickens to watch?
Yeah. So shut the fuck up. Anyway. Well, what we do here at the podcast is we invite two of our comedy friends, whether new or old, to come on the show, and we ask them to tell two stories. One is the truth and one is the lie. And then Jessica and myself, Andrew, will play along. By the way, you both can play along against each other. We all try to figure out which story is the lie.
I'm gonna go with Brian's bombing story being the lie.
That's what we got. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is.
I've seen him do stand up. He's very funny.
Yes,
He's a really
yes,
good
of
writer.
Well, I don't
Yes.
bomb that often. It doesn't happen very
No,
often.
but no one's immune from it. That's the thing.
Oh,
yeah,
no
yeah.
one's immune from
No.
it. That's the beauty
I
of
can't
it,
handle
right?
it.
Yeah, yeah.
very
So
hard.
I think Jeff.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
because it's JF. And,
Like the
and-
initials.
And I said that sounds like a southern way to say Jeff. Jeff,
yeah.
So,
Get in the house.
get in the house.
My brother's name was Jeff.
Oh, really?
JF the initials or Jeff like
Jeff.
okay.
JF, you're not Jeff, right?
No,
No.
I'm James Francis, but when I started in stand up there was 4 other James Harrises who
What?
did stand up.
Really?
Yeah. And some like industry person when I was like super young and stupid was like, nah, you got to change your name. And so I did. And none of those guys are still doing anything. So
I like JF though.
Yeah,
It's
I did.
different.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sets you apart.
yeah, I
does.
know I do like it. I like the way it looks on paper, but
It
when I
does.
like give out my like say like thank you, my name, it makes it harder for people to find me, I think, a
Right.
little bit from
Well, you're no Felicia, and let me just say, whenever my friends put "Bye Felicia" on any fucking Facebook post, I get notified. So I want to hear it. Anyway, by the way, have you ever had sex with someone
Yes.
named like your like your brother? You know, like I could never have sex with someone named Richard or someone named Daryl.
I used to
like
make
my
out with a
dad.
guy named Jeffrey Deal, and he's gay now though.
Okay. That's kind of like answering my question, and not at all either.
Wasn't he always gay though?
All right. Anyway, so JF, it's your turn to go.
Okay.
I don't know if he's out in Mount Olive. I'm sorry.
What were you saying?
Did you just out? Did you just out someone on your podcast?
I think he's out. They're living together now, but it's south, so they can think their buddies living together.
I doubt his mom listens to your podcast.
That's true.
You don't know. You don't know.
That's true.
You
Well, if they
don't
live
know.
together in the South, there's already room.
What if he
Right.
decided to send this podcast to his mom as a way of coming out? Be like, hey, Mom, remember Jessica from high school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would suck.
She's
Like,
doing
look,
bi-
she's doing big things.
Yeah.
She's got J.F. Harris on this one.
It's not Jeff.
Yeah.
Who she slept with. Anyway. Okay, so I have to tell a story now.
Yes.
Do you guys want to pick which story you want to hear first?
No,
don't tell us
Don't
what
tell
it-
us. It's all a mystery.
Okay, cool.
And I might ask you questions.
Yeah. she'll
Totally
interrogate
cool.
you.
Okay. When I was 12 years old, one's longer, one's shorter. So I'll start with the shorter one because I don't know how long these are supposed to be. When I was 12 years old, do you guys remember for Nickelodeon Space Camp how they'd always be advertising on double? I don't know if you guys are my age. At 35, I'm 35.
Yeah, I'm 34.
So
About
they
to be
how on like Double Dare they'd always be advertising as like the prize Space Camp.
Yeah. I thought
I-
that was the coolest thing ever.
And all my nerdy ass wanted to do was go to space camp as a kid, and so I
Is this
begged.
in Huntsville?
I don't. It was in Florida. It was in
It's
like
about the space camp.
the space camp was in
Yeah.
Florida. I think it was Orlando.
I think
or
it was
like
Orlando,
somewhere
too.
somewhere just around there.
Where NASA is.
Yeah, wherever it is in Florida. So I, as a kid, really wanted to go there. And so I begged my parents. So they let me go. And I flew myself down there. And then my grandparents picked me up.
They flew you. Your parents flew
My
you
parents
down.
flew me down. It was my birthday and Christmas present
So
together.
they bought you space camp. You didn't win it.
No, they bought me Space Camp.
But they made you sacrifice your birthday and,
And
Christmas?
Christmas,
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, okay.
That's a lot.
No, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fucking
well,
camps are
also
a
we
lot of
weren't like
money.
rich. My dad's like a blue collar firefighter.
Right.
Like,
No, I didn't
so
go.
like it was like a big deal
Yeah.
that I was going. So I flew down JetBlue myself. My grandparents picked me up.
I don't think JetBlue goes to Florida.
It does go to Florida.
Hmm.
JetBlue like mostly goes to Florida. JetBlue like started on runs from like New York to Florida.
Okay,
So
sure.
okay. First, I spent a day with my grandparents. Then they took me there, dropped me off. I spent one day at Space Camp. Went on one of those Gravitron things. I was a big fat kid, so it was like uncomfortable to be in those big crazy suits. And they put me on like one of those Gravitron spinning things, and I threw up and shit my pants.
You pooped your pants on the thing. The
Yes.
spinny thing.
Yes.
I love it.
Was it solid or like?
It was like no, it was not.
Was it a smear?
Yeah, it was like
Centrifugal force?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did it all go to the left?
I don't know if it's because of like
Was it in your suit? It was in your suit.
it was
though.
in that orange like kid's suit that
Right.
like didn't fit me that well.
Did you have the bubble helmet on too?
No, they didn't. I wish I would have had a bubble helmet on.
Could someone
then the
see
shit
that
would have
you
came up through
you
the
pooped your
suit.
pants from the outside?
No, but I had to tell an instructor, and then because
Was it a lot or just like?
it was. I mean, the poop was a small amount of poop. The throw up was a lot of throw up.
Right.
And then that's when I kind of realized that I have really bad motion sickness. Like I can't even go on the Buccaneer. Like I almost threw up at Disneyland a couple weeks ago on the Ferris wheel. But yeah.
Ferris wheel goes so slow.
Yeah, but it rocks back and forth like crazy. And this thing was like one of those things where you sit on one side of a long arm and then it spins you around. And so I just
So
fucking
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Before you tell
Yeah.
this wonderful last part of it, you didn't have a helmet on.
I didn't have a helmet on.
Oh, okay.
So you're
Or
throwing
not
up went
like-
everywhere. Did
everywhere.
you
Oh my
sprinkle
God.
everybody?
I didn't get people, but I got like I
The
fucked up the room. But I'm sure that happens there a lot.
Right.
Like they were prepared for it. They didn't have like a code, but
They probably do it on purpose. Like, we gonna make this kid fucking puke.
that's fucked up if they did. But after that, I felt so embarrassed and sick and didn't want to be there that I immediately had my grandparents come back and get me, and I left.
Your parents let you leave after they paid for it? That wouldn't happen in my house.
Yeah,
Hell no.
Wow.
it's also similar of when I fell in hockey camp. I just like, well, I'm not playing hockey anymore.
It's like,
Wow.
okay, no.
I being a mother that has sent 2 boys to a lot of camps, am so angry at you of that story that you wanted to leave, because that must have been a big sacrifice, if it's true, if the story is true, for your parents to pay for. Because I had that where my son went to fucking wolf camp.
Yeah, bro.
What is wolf camp?
Wolf camp is like this camp in Colorado where they help take care of wolves that they're reintroducing to.
Oh my
Oh,
God, I want
wow.
to go today.
Yeah, well, he went for like 2 days and had to come home. I was so angry. I was
Oh,
really
wolf
mad.
camp?
Wolf
Yeah.
camp, yeah.
You get to walk the wolves?
You get to do all. You get to do
My-
all.
I saw them do that at the zoo, and I got so excited. They
Yeah.
walk them.
I think for my family, it wasn't about the money. It was just about the break.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I still see.
Yeah,
I
that's
still,
a lot of it. Yeah,
Yes.
but money had a lot
Dude,
to do with it too.
money, though.
I didn't know how to swim at camp one time,
Uh-huh.
and I had an instructor push me into the lake.
Oh my god.
And I stormed to the head counselor's office, and they called my grandmother, and she was like, "Your ass is not coming home." So,
Yeah. Well, I still had to stay with my grandparents because my parents weren't going to change my flights to have me come home, and it
right.
was supposed to be like a six day thing or something like that. And I ended up just
Yeah.
staying with my grandparents, and it was like when my grandfather started getting Alzheimer's. So like I remember watching As Good as It Gets and things getting weird.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's clearly the true story. He doesn't even have to tell the other one.
Well,
You think
see.
so?
We'll see.
Okay, what's the other story?
Wow.
Oh, I go back
No,
to
wait,
back.
wait.
No, we're gonna rotate.
This is
it
our
around.
show. Quit
sorry.
doing everything.
I'm sorry.
That's awesome. Anyway, so it's your turn.
Your
Oh,
turn.
we
You
go
t- yeah,
back
yeah.
and
We're gonna
forth.
run- yes,
Oh,
yes, yes,
okay,
yes,
okay.
He's like, I would have done it that way, but whatever.
I think this is going good.
Yeah, I once stuffed my manager at my first job at a giant food in DC. It's like Safeway.
Mm-hmm.
I once pushed my manager into our walk-in oven.
What?
Yeah, and made her think that I was turning it on. Like I locked her in there because she was firing me. But I locked her in there and made her think that I was turning on the oven. Because she was always bitching at me, like from the time I got hired to the time I got fired. Like she did not want me at all. The manager of the store hired me. She was the manager of the bakery. The manager of the store hired me because he like felt sorry for me, and she just had this like attitude, like I don't want, because we were wild kids, like we were always running in the store. I lived across the street from the store. We were always running in the store, causing trouble and shit like that, So then I finally was like trying to be responsible and get a summer job because I was old enough, and she was not feeling me, and so she didn't teach me how to do anything, and then she would complain that I was fucking things up. That she didn't.
Did
do
you
anything.
ask? Like, hey, show me how to do that.
No, I was 15. I was like, oh, this job's easy as shit.
You were 15 when you did this?
Yeah, I was 15.
Wow.
And where were you? Where was
I was actually I was probably older than that. I was
San Diego?
no, this is Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah. I was I don't know how old I was because I was what grade was I? No, I was in 9th grade.
Okay. Well, you're 15 or
Yeah, it was
16,
like
somewhere around
15,
there.
16.
So
You can get a
was
work
that,
permit.
Was that an
Let me 10th
impulsive
grade.
act, or did you think about that for a couple of days? Like, I just push this bitch in the oven, or was it an impulsive act?
It was an impulsive act, but I think I was just I think it just had been this buildup though of I was just like fuck her, like because in the way my brain works is like if you cross me to that degree, you're on the list, And then
You're getting the shoved in the.
And it's
You would have
like,
made a great
shit.
Nazi. It was like,
I probably would have.
I hate that you beat me to it.
But I was just like, it's like if you're on my list, if the opportunity should arise, then I'm gonna get you. But that's all it is.
Wow.
that's funny.
It doesn't matter.
So how
and
long
you didn't
was she
do
locked
it.
in
You
there?
just scared the hell out of
How
her.
long was she? He fucking locked. That's
Yeah.
kidnapping. If you make someone go from one room to the other in a walk-in oven, I think
we didn't switch rooms.
A walk-in oven? That's bullshit.
No, did you just
Okay.
wake up? Did
Yeah,
you
that's
shoveled her ass in there?
Well, walking oven.
I would have shit my pants.
Walking oven isn't a good description. It's because there's no such thing as a walk-in oven, right? I mean, but it was like because at like bakeries they have those big racks.
Yeah.
And it was like an oven where you could push one of those whole racks into it.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those.
You can walk into it.
can
It's a
walk
pretty
in
walk-in oven.
And I fooled. Yeah. And I told her, I was like, I think I see mouse droppings in the oven, and she was like,
Oh my God! What if somebody would have turned it on? I'm just getting really bad feelings right
no,
now.
because you can see through the glass.
Maybe the day she saw you, she's like, that motherfucker's going to push me in that oven. Maybe that's the feeling she got.
And I
from
made
it.
sure she saw my arm twist like this.
Well, do you mean there's no safety? Like emergency exit lock and from the inside of a walk-in oven, they need to do that.
I put the fucking the stool up against it so she couldn't get out.
And here's a
Because you
question.
can just push it open.
Here's a question. Did you get fired?
I was already fired.
Oh, okay.
She got me fired.
Got you. So it was like the same day.
Yeah. And she,
What was
you
her
knew
name?
it was like your last day.
I don't remember her name.
Oh, you don't remember the lady you put into a walk-in oven's name?
I mean, I had a lot of jobs
But
when
the
I was
Nazis
like.
didn't remember a lot of names either.
Yeah, but this is one lady that pissed him off. You should know. Like, yeah, that was fucking Faith.
I had a lot
I
of.
remember her.
I'm bad with names.
Yeah, I'm terrible with names, and I had a ton of bosses in high school that I don't remember
That's
any
true.
of their
Okay, me
names.
too.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, never mind.
Well, those
But
are
I mean-
two strong stories.
Every job I've quit, I quit in spectacular fashion.
Right.
I can't wait to hear that second story.
There's no ovens here at the Comedy Store, right?
No, he got fired,
fired
from
from
the
here.
comedy
Oh,
store.
okay, all right. Okay.
Just before becoming a paper.
Yeah. Every time I got fired, I deserved it. Every
Yeah.
time I quit, I felt indignant about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, JF. JF.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's totally cool. So my second story is about the first time I was ever robbed. I was.
I've been robbed like 5 times. How many have you been robbed?
Maybe like 3 or 4.
God, we look like victims.
Yeah. I was like I said, I was a fat little kid.
Yeah,
first
yeah,
time I
fat
was-
little kids,
Yeah.
fat people. Yeah.
First time I was ever robbed, I was 10 years.
Is that the rumor we're starting?
Yeah.
Fat people get robbed more?
First time I
It's
was.
just facts,
Yeah, they do. You know they can't catch up to you to get their money back.
right?
No.
And they know you're gonna have money on you because you're gonna get fast food.
You're on your way to get. You're on your way to. You're on your way to candy, and they know it.
All right.
First time I ever got robbed, I was 10 years old.
I wasn't young.
I was robbed by a slightly fatter 11-year-old.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
I was helping my cousin Danny with his paper route, and it was like the day when you go around and collect money. There was a house that had a yard sale for sale, so I went up the driveway and they had a beeper, and I went and bought that beeper with some of my cousin's paper route money that I got from the collect. And this is like back when beepers were cool.
Yeah, I
Like,
had
if
one.
if you had one, you might have like
I had one of
fingered
the
somebody
clear
or
ones,
something like
just
that.
like a little bit of red. That
Yeah.
was cool. The side one, not the one you had to look from the top.
Yeah,
Balling.
Skyway pager. You had a Skyway pager. That's what those were called. And so I walk down the driveway with this beeper on, and this kid sees me, and he's just like, "Run your pockets." And I'm like, "I don't have any money." And he's like, "I don't believe you. You got a beeper. You got money."
That's how he robbed you? He said, run it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was this a black kid?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I grew.
What?
Yeah.
People rob you with slang.
Yeah. Well, I grew up on like a border between like blue collar white neighborhood and a black neighborhood, and my cousin delivered papers in the black neighborhood because my cousin lived in the black neighborhood.
Okay.
And so this kid runs my pockets. He goes in, takes the money, and then takes off. And then my cousin Danny comes riding up on his bike, and he was like, "Did that kid just rob you?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Okay, hop on my bike. We're gonna go back to."
Okay, how fat of a kid were you? Because I couldn't have rode on a bike with somebody else.
I mean,
Were you a fat kid?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was. How do you determine how fat enough that like the chances of me fingering someone were 0? Does that make sense? No one's like, I got to get those little nubs in my,
Wow. That's an interesting way to describe
middle school. You know what I mean?
weight.
Because if you're a fat girl, someone will still finger you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I got all kinds of action. I mean, I thinned out, but whatever.
Yeah, I try my best too, but like in middle school, after I got beat up for the first time in 4th grade, I really fattened up. Like I was like, I'm not leaving the house. I'm gonna watch a lot of TV. And
Did you get robbed with a weapon?
yeah, knife.
Oh, okay.
Like one of those like little red like pop open ones.
This guy, the one we're talking about right now,
Yeah. So
an 11-year-old with a knife.
yeah.
Okay.
And so we ride back to my cousin's house. My cousin tells my aunt and uncle. All of a sudden, like he calls my dad. My dad shows up, and then all these other like older uncles and like guys from the block start showing up, and it dawns on me that they're forming a posse, and that we're gonna go out and try to find this kid.
Who says they're forming a posse? It dawns on me they're forming a posse.
Well, this all sounds believable to me.
Yeah. So we hop in my dad's like Chrysler van, which has like clear windows. It's not a good like surveillance van, and we
The
go out.
square ones.
Yes. And my dad's had 2 red front seats for some reason that didn't match the rest of the interior, but that's,
Junkyard. If you
yeah, probably something like that. It was it doesn't matter. So then we go out and we look for this kid, and like an hour goes by, nothing. 2 hours goes by, nothing. Finally, like they decide we're gonna turn it in, and just as we turn the corner, after they're like we're gonna call it a day, we turn the corner and we see the kid walking towards us, and my cousin Danny's like, "That's the fucking guy," and I'm like, "No."
Oh, you don't want them to find
I don't want him to find him because I'm terrified of confrontation and shit like that.
Okay.
So then all of a sudden, they pull the van up on the curb, nearly hitting this fat child. They fucking storm open the doors and charge this kid. Like I felt bad for this kid. Like he thought the thirstiest group of pedophiles were coming to like get him.
Oh man.
And so they storm this kid. They knock him to the floor. They call the cops. The kid gets arrested. I have to go to court against this kid. I get a restraining order against this kid, and that should be like the end of it. I start junior high, like 4 or 5 weeks later, like later at the end of that summer, I start junior high, and like my first day in junior high, after like first or second period, I go to take a shit. My story's
Another
about
poop
shit,
story,
I know.
huh? Okay.
And I go into the bathroom, and as soon as I go into the bathroom, I see that kid there. And like I freak out.
Was he a grade above you?
He must, yes, because he was in the grade with my friends Sean and Chris. So because they knew who he was.
You're doing a lot of hand movements during this story.
Well, he's being descriptive.
But it's a lot of.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
that- but that's,
yeah.
Wow, Jessica don't trust
Yeah,
no.
I know.
So
Finger banged you when you were 11 too.
She's like, you wearing 2 different blues. What the fuck is that about?
So I go into the bathroom stall and I sit and I'm like panicking because I think this kid's gonna murder me, and I'm like trying to figure out how I'm gonna get out of there. And then all of a sudden, like I realize, okay, I think this kid's gone. So I go to sit. Like I hear the door open. I hear people coming.
Did he
in and
see
out.
you?
I thought he saw me. So I go to sit down to take a shit, and all of a sudden this kid like fucking roundhouse kicks the door open and like fucking knocks his Timberland into the door. The door swings open. This is like 96 Staten Island, like a lot
Right,
of
you
Wu-Tang,
gotta-
Shaolin going around. Like kid just fucking kicks open the door, and I'm sitting there with my pants down, and he's like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "Nothing," taking a shit. And he's like, so I have to like figure out what I'm gonna do, and then I stand up, and as I stand up with no pants on, he just like sees my dick and sees me standing there, and then just leaves. And then I never saw that kid again.
So, moral of the story is that he really had a crush on you.
Yeah.
You never saw him again?
I never saw him again, which just fucked up because we went to the same junior high.
He probably like got kicked out or.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Or he came out to his
Expelled.
parents after that and they just got rid of him.
Yeah, he went to like space camp to get.
See, yeah, okay. So what do we?
What do you think?
Oh, I think the second story
Yeah.
because I think I know JF and I know that he's a clever one,
Yeah.
Mr. Grunge.
and I know that both of those stories have truth in them because
Look at him grinning.
right.
Oh!
But I know that the second story is the one that has the lie in it because you told the first one way more fluidly, and at every challenge you were quick to boom, recovered. That second one, you were grasping for shit, you know. So I'm guessing the second story is the one that contains the lie, but it's not a complete lie. The whole story.
Yeah, you've been beat up.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
But
wow.
or is that too soon? Or am I supposed to tell mine?
No,
Yeah,
it's
go ahead
great.
and tell yours. I thought that was very good observation.
Yeah.
But go ahead and tell yours.
Sorry.
Oh, do you want to say anything?
No.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
I didn't. Did I cut you off?
No, I thought we cut you off. That's why I was like, ah.
No.
No.
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I shot one of my brothers while I was playing with a gun.
In Maryland?
In Maryland, yeah.
How old were you?
One of my foster brothers. I was, shit.
How did you get a gun
I
in
was,
foster
I was
care?
probably 13 or 14.
I'm sure there are guns everywhere.
How did I get a gun in foster care?
When you show up, they hand you one and say good luck.
No, actually,
You
what
sign the
happened is,
application, they slide it over.
because what happens is like a lot of the foster parents are, you know, they've been doing it for a long time and they've had kids grow up in their house and move the fuck out, and you know, some of them go to college and some of them go to the streets or whatever. And so it was like one of the older foster kids that used to live there, but was still friends with one of the other older kids that still live there. You know, and so he gave him a gun to hold on to, and me not knowing shit about guns, you know, and then he, you know, he got to playing around with it and shit, and he used to. One day he came in the house and like he acted like someone had broken into the house, and he had the gun pressed up against my head, you know, and went to pull the trigger and like, but it was empty, you know, and when he turned on the lights and I realized it was him, you know, it was like, oh, laugh, laugh, laugh.
Oh, yeah, real funny.
Yeah, well, it was funny at the time, but
You got a
then,
fucked up sense of humor,
But then
dude.
I was like, okay, I'll get you back, you know. And so, you know, a couple weeks go by, and he's in the shower getting ready for a date, and I go in, get
That's
the gun.
the most Maryland I think I've ever heard you sound. The shower.
It comes out sometimes. And he's in the shower getting ready for a date, and I sneak in, get the pistol, and I do what I saw him do, and I just dropped the clip out, not knowing there was still one in the chamber. You know, and so when he got out of the shower, you know, he got out of the shower, went in the room, I busted in the room, was like, yeah, motherfucker, and pulled the trigger, and it went off.
Wow.
Yeah, man, and
Where did it hit him?
It hit him right in the stomach.
You shut your pipe
And it was
hole.
a deuce, so it was a 22, so you know it bounces around because it doesn't break bone, so it's way more dangerous, you know, up close to get shot with a because it won't go through, you know, it'll just bounce around inside you and put multiple holes in your soft shit, which is what happened to him, I'm guessing. And then
You didn't check it back up on him?
well, I mean, when you shoot someone, they take you out of the home. You know, you can't just keep.
So
living
you
there.
could.
So you had to move into a different home.
Yeah.
How old were you? 11?
I think I was 13 or 14.
And
You didn't ever find out anything? What happened to him?
Well, let me get to that.
Also, did you get hit with any charges?
I mean,
for
my
this?
immediate right. So that's the immediate problem is
Yeah.
because
No, the immediate problem is did you kill him?
Nah, the charges.
no, he did not. No, he definitely didn't die because I'm here, right? So
Yeah.
Did you administer first aid?
No, I didn't know first aid.
You're
So
like,
what did you do? As soon
ran.
as it happened.
I called. Well, what I did was see, here's the thing: the gun was dirty, right? So it was like I didn't immediately call 911, which is how the cop knew I was lying later. But I didn't immediately call 911. I asked him what to do.
you were
know?
like, oh shit.
And he was like, yo, call my friend. So I called his friend, and I was like, yo, he told me to call you, and he was like, he's losing blood, motherfucker. Don't listen to him. So then I called the cops. I called 911 and like, we need an ambulance or whatever. But during the time I was talking to his friend, the neighbors had already called 911.
Oh shit.
So, you know, and he gave me this bullshit story to tell, like, you know, someone broke in and did this and this and that because he was trying to protect whoever had given him the gun, you know. So, but the cop knew I was lying because he knew when the phone calls happened. So he was like, why would you shoot someone and then call another person instead of calling 911 and then call 911 later from a different number? And I was like, fuck. Anyway, they ended up, I went straight from there to the hospital and then straight from the hospital to the new home.
Wow.
Why'd you go to the hospital?
because he was in the hospital.
Oh, you went with him to the hospital?
Yeah, because the cop, even though I didn't really tell him the whole truth, he deduced because I didn't realize how stupid I was being. I thought he was like the dude from Boondock Saints that was just like clairvoyant, just figured it out. But he knew exactly what happened. He was like, "You guys were playing with a gun, and you should, you know."
Yeah.
So he let me go.
Well, that was a big problem back in those days. Felicia often brings it up that
I was going to bring it up, but I didn't want you to think that I often bring shit up.
Hold on, what
When I was a kid, I grew up in a rural area. My apologies for the repeaty, but I grew up in a rural area. And back then, the NRA was a good organization because you had to take NRA classes to learn how to handle a gun. And for safety reasons, by the time you graduated junior high, even to get into high school. So it used to be a really good organization that way because when I was a kid, a lot of people were accidentally killed, a lot of kids. Like I had, there was a set of triplets where I lived that one of them killed another one by accident. It was a lot of shit like that went down.
Yeah, well, that was the truth is because I learned after later when I joined the military, it was like I learned, oh, this didn't happen because I had a gun. This happened because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing with the gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have any rules, But anyway, I ended up.
so no charges. They didn't take you in for the night.
No, he took me to the hospital, and then he told. So the whole family was there, and he told my foster mother what happened, and she's such a sweet lady. She just broke down crying. And here's the thing: the rest of the family suspected what happened. They thought I did it, but they thought I did it on purpose and like maliciously.
Yeah.
So it was all of these people speculating and shit. But so when he told the foster mother what happened, she started crying. Then her brother was like, "What's wrong?" And then she told her brother, and then it started kind of spreading around, and then it became like I couldn't stay there. We got hostile. You know what I mean? So I ended up in the next home.
Well, I find it very interesting that you kind of got all over JF about
Grasping for shit, right?
Because when I was listening to the story, I thought to myself, you were grasping quite a bit in different directions with this story. Number one. Number two is, but then when you told the pushing the lady in the oven story, I was all like, when you put the door up against the oven, I was kind of like, that's kind of graspy. So now I'm like, fuck, I don't know. What do you think, Jessica?
I think you were in foster care.
Yeah, a lot of that happened.
I think that I don't know that you were playing with a gun. I don't think you would have shot your friend and they wouldn't have at least detained you for the night or something, or
that you got into
the
military after that.
Well, if there was no charges, then you could totally, your juvenile record could pretty much hide.
Okay.
Because it's sealed.
Any questions for him, JF?
I mean, here's the question. What was the name of the foster mom who started crying?
Oh, you can't remember her name either?
Her name was Mrs. Jones.
Mrs. Jones.
Her name was Patricia Jones.
Oh, Patricia Jones.
And then, did you see any of those other foster kids again post that home? Like, did you stay in the same school?
No, not until years and years later.
Did you ask and find out what happened to the guy?
Right, years and years later, I called her, and he still lived with her. And,
oh wow!
And I talked to him, and he was fine. I thought he hated me, but he didn't.
Yeah.
We held a gun to your head.
Years and years and years and years.
All right.
He's like a brother to me, or he was. I don't know what we are.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. This is tough because there are parts of this story I really believe, similar to what you were saying about me.
Right.
And I believe that you could have accidentally shot this kid, but I feel like if you did accidentally shoot this kid, what it looked like would have been more graphic. Like you would have been like where the hole was. I don't know.
Blood. It's just convenient that he was in the shower and got shot, so it doesn't get everywhere. Like this.
Well, he wasn't in the shower when he got shot. He had just gotten out of the shower.
Oh, you changed that.
Yeah.
You said in the shower.
I didn't. You gonna go
you
back?
Said you pulled the curtain open, didn't you?
No, I said I kicked the door open to the room.
I thought he was taking a bath. No, I'm fucking with
No.
you.
We shared a room.
Here's the thing. In my heart of hearts, I want to believe the shooting story, but I think the other one the oven story is way more feasible.
Either way, you needed to be severely medicated as a child. And I'm not saying it mean because I severely medicated one of my children.
I was on some. I was prescribed medication that I didn't take.
Yeah. Oh.
All right, I'm gonna go with the gun story, even though I know I'm wrong.
You know what's interesting? You think the gun story is the truth or the
Well,
lie?
don't say it yet. Don't say it.
Don't tell us yet.
But you know what's interesting is that with your reasoning is that you find it hard to believe that I didn't spend any time in jail from the shooting.
Yeah, you're a black kid that shot somebody in Maryland.
Yeah.
Right, but you didn't bat an eye that I didn't have to talk to the cops about putting that lady in the oven.
Yeah,
Okay.
how did you get out of that? Because
she could have got pissed, but she didn't. You didn't shoot her.
That's
You didn't
true.
turn the oven on.
He did push her in a fucking oven, though.
But you
Yeah,
didn't.
but
You
that's
didn't
like
turn the
kid-
oven on.
I didn't put. I lured her.
Lured her in the oven.
I lured her. I didn't push her. I didn't like.
Yeah, because he said there's
All right.
rat droppings or something in the
Yeah,
oven.
I'm going with the accidentally shot somebody story.
What do you think, Andrew?
I'm gonna say that the I want to say that you had thought about doing the oven thing because I've worked in kitchens where we had walk-in ovens, and there's been a couple people that I wish I could have done that too. But I want to say that you thought about it, but you never did it, and that the gun story is true. So the other one's false. The oven's false.
They both sound so. The second one sounds like an after-school special. The first one sounds like a cartoon. I lured her to the oven.
Look, mysterious lady, I can't remember your name. Rat droppings in this conveniently placed walk-in oven. That's interesting. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think?
I know it's. I think the first one's true.
The lady in the oven?
Walk-in oven.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't even know the term walk-in oven before today.
Which one do you think is true?
I'm gonna go with the accidentally shot the other kid.
What about Felicia?
And Andrew, you're saying what?
The shooting is true.
You think I think the shooting is true, but that it happened to someone else in that home or in one of the homes you were in, whether you were there when it happened or before or after you were there.
So you think both stories are true, but
One just didn't happen.
but you think the shooting one is the one that contains the lie?
I think that the shooting one contains little lies here and there as you were scrambling for a story.
Okay.
But
But he might have been trying to throw us off too by pointing that out in JF, right? Saying that and then doing his story and make it seem like, oh, I'm going to pull from all these places so that we automatically think he's lying.
Okay, either way, you were an impulsive kid. So I have an impulsive kid. So I'm going to say, God, they both could be fucking true.
Right.
That's so scary. But I'm going to say the oven story is true. God, it's so hard one, though.
I know.
It's a hard one.
I didn't know what to do with this
And
one.
you're saying the shooting story is true.
No, I think the oven's true.
You think the oven's
I'm
true?
going to oven.
Okay. All right, girls.
Girls, guys.
Okay.
All right.
What's the story?
Oh wait a minute, but he hasn't told us which one it is.
No, I
Yes,
know.
he did.
We both think the shooting.
No, I didn't say it.
He didn't say which one was true. Yeah.
Oh, I think you shot the kid.
Yeah.
No. I'm talking about
of mine?
of your story.
Yeah, but
No,
we're
we're
asking
gonna do you
we're asking
first.
you.
Oh, which
Yeah.
story is
first.
true?
Yeah.
The shooting story is true.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Right. The oven story. I quit that job in spectacular fashion, but it wasn't from pushing her in the oven.
Yeah.
What made you think about the oven, though?
Because it was something that I fantasized about doing.
You got it, Andrew.
Yeah,
Andrew got it.
Andrew nailed it.
God damn it. You shot somebody. And
Wow.
you didn't find out if they were okay until years later, Brian.
And then how fucking
I quit.
crazy is
I
that?
quit the bakery job by putting my finger in all the cakes.
Nice.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Brian,
I'm not mad at
you
for
might be a
that.
psychopath.
Have you? No.
No, I just enjoy revenge.
But also, like, a psychopath puts his dick in all the cakes, not his finger.
No, but I also realized now that I might have been wrong about JF's story because I realized that as I was telling my lie story was very orderly, but
See, that's what
but
I was just gonna say.
But the true story was kind of all over the place because I was trying to remember things. Which so
I thought you might be tricking us like that.
no well that was my intention.
Okay.
But
Now we turn our attention over to JF's
Yeah.
story, and we're like, Is it the story about being in a centrifugal machine at some space camp where he puked and shit himself as he was floating around?
So is your family
and around and around.
cooler? Were they like
He
I
had the
don't
most
wanna say-
supportive family.
right? Your family, but were they like jocks or
My dad was like my dad played sports. I did not.
okay? But they weren't like I don't know why I imagine like Italian.
Because my
Busted out.
family's like Irish and Italian and Puerto Rican.
Okay, busting out and jumping a kid.
But you was
Oh, that part. Yeah.
you were a mama's boy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Big time.
So
My
I'm-
dad was always working. Like, my dad was a fireman. He washed windows. He worked in kitchens. Like, my dad was just always working.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say the space camp story is true, and that the robbery story is just partially true. That's where the lie is, though, for sure.
Oh God.
But then if we're thinking about what you just said and how you were kind of all over the place with your story, the thing that makes me think that maybe the second story is true is that he was a little bit all over the place, but that he said the emotion like, no, I don't want this to happen. You know what I mean? Like,
Did you notice in that first story too, though, like little details? He was just like, "Oh, never mind. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter." And then the second one, he gave us the more details.
well, the first one is so rich in its silliness that we were all over him about how he shit himself. So he,
Right.
you know, we didn't.
he
give
didn't
him
remember
time
where
to
his
come out with it.
grandparents lived in Florida.
Yeah.
What do you remember about where they lived?
About where they lived, it's like, it's south of Tampa by like 2 or 3 hours. There's a place with a pier near their house that St. John's Pass is like the cool area near their
what?
house where we used to go shopping as kids.
I'm
But I
changing my
don't.
answer.
Yeah, what is your answer?
I'm changing. I
Okay.
think, for different reasons.
Okay.
No, it's a fun game, right?
It's cool.
I think that you also being a orderly thinker like myself, I think that you would have told, and this is a gamble, but I think you would have told your lie first so you could get it out of the way, because the true story is always there for you. So you told your lie first because that's what you had to plan.
Funny.
So that you could get it out of the way and not have to remember it.
You're bringing up good points.
The second story is true. The first one is where the lie is. But both stories are true. But the first one, you have
Because
a lie
that's
in
what you did. Your first story
That's
is
exactly.
a lie.
That was my plan because she booked me today. She
Yeah.
booked me 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll tell the lie first, get that out the way, and then the
But
true
thank you
one-
for making the meat of the story not true, because you know how many times we've had people on here and they just changed, like, oh, instead of it happening in a Taco Bell, it happened in a El Polo Loco, and they're thinking that's a lie now.
Oh, right.
You're like, no, it still happened. It just happened in a different restaurant.
That's funny.
Right.
So what do you think? What do you think about JF's story?
JF, such a nice, such a nice guy, and I do think that I think you've thrown up and pooped yourself.
Last week.
Because haven't we all? Gosh, that's hard. Yeah, he kept throwing away those details on the
is that
first
enough?
story.
Is that enough to make a kid leave space camp? Come on, a little poop.
Yeah, I think the second story is true, and the space camp thing is not true.
I've
Right.
stayed at parties where people shit themselves.
When I was an alcoholic, I pissed myself and stayed at a party.
Oh yeah, why not?
All right. So what do you think, Andrew?
I think that the first story is the lie only because you said it happened a while ago, and you said that you were on JetBlue, and I don't think JetBlue was
That's
a
what I
company
was
up until
thinking.
like
Yes,
2004.
fist bump.
That's why I don't think
Fist bump,
JetBlue went to
yes.
Florida, did it?
Yes.
That was my first
I
thing.
don't know about that, but it just I don't think
JetBlue 1,000% goes to Florida.
I don't think they were a company until like 2004. So
That's not true. But feel
I
free to
don't think
Google.
that's my thought. No.
Feel free to Google.
No.
No,
No,
we're
you
not
can't
allowed.
Google. We're not allowed to Google. And
Felicia,
you can't get
You
reception
can
down
Google.
here
You can
anyway.
Google JetBlue. Feel free.
No. Felicia doesn't let us.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you're not allowed to Google. Otherwise, that becomes a fucking nightmare. All right, so who's all saying that the second story is true and that the space camp thing is a lie?
All right, I'm gonna agree.
Oh wow! Everyone flipped.
Yeah.
It's so funny because everyone thought the first story was true at first, and then everyone flipped. You guys are all correct.
Oh!
Never been to space camp. Never shit myself.
Oh, it's all a lie.
It's all a lie.
Oh my God! What a good one.
The only part of it that is true is that my grandfather did get Alzheimer's, and we did watch that movie together, and it was weird. And I just kind of threw that in at the end because that's a memory I had from being in Florida. But JetBlue was flying to Florida in 2004 because I flew down on JetBlue to go to Disney when I was a kid. When my parents wanted to get rid of me, they sent me to my grandparents one summer.
Bro, you're on my heist list, bro.
Oh, thanks, dude.
Like I'm sorry. I have a list of friends that I could rob a bank with, like if it ever happened.
Yeah.
Right.
That I would trust enough. He's such a good liar. That was
that was good.
that was
Because in my head I was just like riffing a bit.
to make all that up.
I made all of that up. The only thing I had coming into it was because the Mars landing. They landed on Mars today. I just went space camp, Double Dare.
Right.
That's something I would have wanted to do as a
Well,
kid.
and I think it always helps when you do something that was nostalgic because I remember those commercials.
Yeah.
Like Space Camp. and
Yeah.
You would win that stuff.
That was an excellent
Yeah.
way into that story. There
So,
you go.
yeah, I used to
you
do
laid
it-
the groundwork.
I used to do
'Cause you
improv,
got
and I
me
used that
involved
as
with
my
that.
suggestion.
I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Felicia, how often does it happen that everyone is right?
No, I don't know that it's
think
ever
this is-
happened.
Second time, I think, because last week we had where everyone was right. I think about Ani Malik's.
Oh, did we?
Malik's story, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the other
yeah.
other story was
Yeah.
true. I did lie, but like it was one of those things of like I've told that story on stage once or twice, and so I had jokes for parts that I was purposely leaving out because I didn't want it to feel like, oh, this is a bit that he does.
You mean the second story?
The second
You know,
story.
that's how Josh Nasser tricked us, though, because he did a bit that he does on stage, which ended up being a lie.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I've heard you do this on stage, so it's true.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, it's a lie.
And I
good at
had,
this.
yeah, and that like getting robbed story is actually like a 12-minute story that I don't really do much anymore because it's a 12-minute story.
Shit.
So like I left out a fuck ton of details.
Well, you getting 12-minute sets out here? I didn't know that.
It's like a story I can only do on the road.
Where do you think the term "fuck ton" came from? That's what I think. I mean, I'm serious. Like that's such
No,
a.
because I think shit ton was first, and then people were like, well, we say shit, we say fuck. You know?
You think so?
Good point.
Yeah, it's like because I don't know.
Shit ton of fuck ton.
Anyway,
You don't think
guys-
there's like a real origin of like, oh, we don't know how much of a tons this is.
fuck ton.
I don't know. All right, fuck ton.
Well, anyway, you guys have been amazing guests. Thank you so much
This
for
was so
coming
much
on
fun.
the podcast. You guys were awesome with your stories. Great stories. Really great stories. Is there anywhere that people can catch you, or do you have anything coming up or anything you'd like to pitch?
I have a podcast, BS with Brian Simpson. I'm on Instagram at BS Comedian, and I will be at the San Francisco Punchline on the 5th of December, and the setup in San Francisco on the 7th and the 8th.
Very nice. Very nice. What about you, Jeff?
My website is www.jfharris, JF like the initials, .com. You can go on there and see my tour dates all over the country, and you can find my social stuff on there as well. I'm going to be headlining the Irvine Improv in December, the San Jose Improv in January, and then like a fuck ton of dates in the Midwest.
That's the lie. That's a lie.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's true. It is a lie. It's 4 weekends in the Midwest. But I got
That's a fuck ton, dude. That's a fuck ton.
I got a lot of dates in 2019 on my calendar, and I go everywhere. So please come check me out.
And Andrew?
You can find me everywhere at one Andrew Rose all across the board, and go to arosecomedy.com and click on the link for my book, 365 Funny Facts for Your Unfunny Father. It is on sale now. Go and grab one as a stocking stuffer, and we would greatly appreciate it if you bought that for me. Thank you.
All right, and you guys can follow me at Felicia Michaels all across the board. And I just wanted to say I've been having so much fun with Jessica this past week. We went to a nice dinner. We went and saw Joey Coco Diaz at the
did.
Irvine Improv. Wasn't that fun?
It really was fun.
Fun
We went to
time.
this. I'm just gonna say we went to this Chinese restaurant, right? I had never done this before. I was so excited because they have
This
these
is
fancy.
the lie.
No, no.
They had these fancy ass plates when we sat down. I was like, "Oh my god, Felicia, look at this!" And I was so excited to eat on them. I even made her take a picture of me with the fancy plate, right? And then he came and he took it away, and I was like, "What the?" And he's like, "Oh no, we you don't eat off these.
Yeah, you
It's
get lead
just for-
poisoning.
They're just for looks. And I was like, what?
Yeah, it was very cute. You should have seen her little face. Anyway, so please follow me all across the board, Felicia Michaels, and I'm very grateful for my podcasting partners, Andrew and Jessica. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining, and your turn.
Thanks for having us.
Well, my name is Jessica Wellington, and you can follow me at Jess Wellington 2 on everything. I, too, love Felicia, and you've been lied
Can I
to.
ask a quick question?
Yes, sure.
How did y'all come up with this? Like, what started it? What conversation sparked it?
She used to open up for Howie Mandel, and I think she remembered his game show.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
so
point of this podcast.
That's a lie,
lie.
bitch. That's a lie. Because we wanted to do a game show kind of format, and so we were trying to just come up with, like, for me it was just like, well, we have comics and we want to do content, so we went standalone stories, and then it was just like, let's just simply have people come on and tell the truth and a lie.
I totally just put that together from stuff she said on the podcast, so I'm getting good.
Yeah.
You got like 4 podcasts.
No, this is the only one now.
She quit them all for me.
I quit them all.
She quit all those podcasts for me,
You on
Brian.
board with comics?
Yeah, I'm in a long-term
Yeah.
relationship
Yeah,
now.
Okay, I feel you.
I'm in the passenger seat right next to her.
She's wifed up.
Yep.
Yep.
No, that's dope. I'm glad.
I am. People are picking on me when I come into the store now. They're like, "Oh, Felicia, your girlfriend now?"
I see that too. So you and Jessica, like, look, bitch, we both have nails.
No. Well, Jess has a hard time convincing people that she's not lesbian.
Yeah.
I be trying too. People are like, yes, she is. I'm like, no, she isn't.
I'm not. I'm really not. I do like penis.
I know.
And she loves my penis.
Oh, that's a great episode. I'm so glad I did this.
Yeah, this was a blast. Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah.